We've all been taught that oxygen is life, right? But what if I told you that's only a tiny piece of a much, much bigger story? Every single breath you take is almost entirely nitrogen, while oxygen is the spark, the energy for your cells. You see, pure oxygen is incredibly reactive. It loves to burn.
This video is made for educational and informational purposes only.
All right, let's jump right in. We think so much about the food we eat, the water we drink, but what about the air we're breathing? Thousands of times a day without even thinking about it. We've all been taught that oxygen is life, right? But what if I told you that's only a tiny piece of a much, much bigger story? You know, we hear the word breathing and we immediately think oxygen. And it makes sense. Oxygen is what powers our cells. It gives us energy. It's absolutely essential. But is it really the star of the show? Or is it more of a supporting actor in this incredible play that's happening inside our lungs? Let's find out. So, take a look at this. This is a real reality check. Every single breath you take is almost entirely nitrogen, a whopping 78%. Oxygen, the gas we hear all about, is only 21%. And that last little 1%? That's a mix of other gases. Now, this isn't just some random mix. This is literally the recipe for life on Earth. So let's talk about this invisible majority. Why so much nitrogen? It turns out this specific blend is anything but an accident. It's like this perfectly mixed cocktail for life that's been fine-tuned over millions and millions of years. Think about it this way. The atmosphere isn't just some big gas tank that we pull oxygen out of. No, it's a super complex, interactive system. Every single part has a job to do. And that 78-21 split, well, that's the foundation that makes our entire planet's ecosystem even possible. So now, let's dive into the story of our unsung hero, nitrogen. We breathe it in, we breathe it out all day long, and we pretty much ignore it. But the truth is, without that 78%, life as we know it would just stop. It is time this gas got the credit it absolutely deserves. And this, right here, says it all. While oxygen is the spark, the energy for your cells, nitrogen provides the actual bricks and mortar. It is, quite literally, what you are made of. So what exactly is it building? Well, nitrogen is a core part of all amino acids. And what do amino acids build? Proteins. We're talking about your muscles, your enzymes, your hair, your skin, the whole shebang. And even more amazing, nitrogen is essential for nucleic acids. That's the stuff that makes up your DNA and RNA. It's the code that makes you, you. Okay, but here's the puzzle. Our lungs can't actually do anything with the nitrogen gas in the air. We just breathe it in and breathe it right back out. So, if we can't get it from breathing, how on earth does this super essential building block end up inside of us? Well, the answer is this beautiful, elegant cycle in nature. First, these special bacteria in the soil grab nitrogen out of the air and fix it, which just means they convert it into a form that plants can actually use. Then, step 2, plants suck up this fixed nitrogen through their roots to grow. And finally, we come along and we eat the plants, or we eat animals that ate the plants. So yeah, every meal you eat is delivering the nitrogen that's all around you in the air. And this brings us to the absolute genius of this atmospheric balance. Because that 78-21 ratio isn't just about giving us the ingredients for life, it's also about keeping us safe. You see, pure oxygen is incredibly reactive. It loves to burn. That huge amount of nitrogen in the air basically acts like a buffer. It dilutes the oxygen, it calms it down, and it slows its reactivity to a level that our bodies can handle safely. Without all that nitrogen, just taking a breath would be dangerously intense. Which, of course, leads to a really important question, especially now with things like oxygen bars popping up. If oxygen is good for us, then more oxygen must be better, right?
Humans evolved for 21% oxygen. Our bodies are optimized for this specific level. Always see a doctor before using supplements. Medical oxygen is a prescription-only tool for serious illness. It requires professional supervision, not self-treatment. Gym canisters lack clinical backing. For healthy people, more isn't better. It's actually unnecessary and risky. Prolonged exposure to high oxygen causes oxygen toxicity. Consult a pulmonologist for any respiratory concerns. Toxicity damages lungs and vision. Seek emergency care for chest pain, vision changes, or breathing distress.
It really goes to show you that balance is everything. Okay, so if you shouldn't be worrying about the nitrogen to oxygen ratio, what should you be paying attention to when it comes to the air you breathe and your health? Let's get practical. Here's the deal. That big picture, the 78-21 split, it is incredibly stable all across the entire planet. What you really need to focus on is your local air quality. Because unlike that global mix, your local air quality can change like crazy, day by day, and even from outside to inside your own home.
Indoor VOCs, the deep threat. These tiny particles penetrate lungs and the bloodstream. The ICMR links them directly to heart and lung disease. The smog maker peaks on summer afternoons in cities like Delhi and Mumbai. It irritates airways and triggers asthma. Home hazards, released by agarbati, paint, and cleaners. Indoor levels often exceed outdoor pollution.
These are the things that actually affect your health day to day. But here's the good news. You can absolutely do something about it.
Use the Safar app, CPCB portal, or IQ Air. The Indian scale ranges from 0 to 50, good, to 401 to 500, hazardous. Use this data to decide when to stay indoors or ventilate.
Second, make sure you've got good ventilation. Sometimes just opening a window can make a huge difference.
And third, HEPA filters. If you live in a high-pollution city, invest in a HEPA purifier certified to IS 17519 standards. These effectively filter out PM 2.5, PM 10, and household VOCs.
So let's just leave it with this thought. Oxygen is the fire. It's the energy, the spark. But nitrogen is the substance. It's the quiet, constant foundation that gives us the very building blocks of our existence. So the next time you take a nice, deep breath, sure, thank oxygen for the energy, but give a little nod to nitrogen for making you, well, you.
Video is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider regarding any medical condition or treatment.